Okay, good evening, everybody. This is the Carver Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for July 12, 2023. We are in room 1 at the Carver Town Hall. And we will commence the meeting this evening with a discussion concerning the reorganization of the board, which is what we do customarily the first meeting of the new year for us, which is early July typically. So I will entertain discussion first of all about who the members would like to have as their next chairman for the ensuing year. Don't everybody talk at once.
Well, yeah. Actually, I was going to ask if we should set the reorg off until we have the full board.
Well, we could do that, I suppose, but because we are at the beginning of a new season for us, I'm thinking that perhaps, so there won't be any issues concerning the fact that the old board membership is still being held over while we engage on other matters this evening. I was thinking that it probably would be more appropriate to begin with the reorg, unless there's a firm belief amongst the other members of the board that they'd like to wait as we work through the agenda, which is a very brief one this evening. Anybody have any thoughts about that? You want to wait, or you want to get after this right now? Mr. Barrington.
Mark would be the only one that, obviously he's not here, but I'm okay with going ahead.
Ms. Cullum, what would you like to do? Makes no difference to me, really.
I'm okay to proceed.
Okay.
All right, then I throw it back to the members of the board for an open discussion concerning the investiture of new officers for the coming year for the Carver Zoning Board of Appeals. I'm opening the floor to discussion.
Are you looking for nominations or discussion?
Well, we can do both. Let's do a little bit of a discussion first, if you want to do a discussion, or you can just go ahead and make your nomination.
I'm very happy with the chairman being chairman. And, you know, with the longevity on the board and the record of the board, I would like to nominate Chairman Gray for another season.
And I would second that.
Thank you for your kind words. Ms. Mello. Ms. Cullum, do you have anything further to add?
No.
So, Ms. Mello, if you would be kind enough to ask for a vote, because I will not be voting for myself.
Okay. I'd like to hear a vote by person of the nomination of Chairman Gray to serve another year. Jennifer?
Yes.
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 And I am willing to do so.
Thank you.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously. And now I open the floor to nominations and/or discussion concerning the vice chair. And I, speaking just for myself, am very happy with the young lady sitting to my right, Ms. Mello, as vice chair. She is engaged and she is learning by leaps and bounds what these bylaws require in the town. She has a good handle on things, and as the newer members of the board know, there is a learning curve here. Mm-hmm. Ms. Mello has been on the board now for how many years?
10.
10 years, and came on as an alternate, served as an alternate for many years, and has gradually been moving closer to the center chair. That I can see a day when she will be taking this chair, and probably sooner rather than later, she's shaking her head no, but we'll take her by the shoulders and shake her until she says yes. But I would nominate Ms. Mello for another term as vice chair.
I would second that motion.
If there is no further discussion, let's go to a vote on this. Ms. Cullum? Yes?
Yes.
Yes from the chair, and Ms. Mello, do you accept this position?
I do, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
That's a yes. The vote is unanimous. I think that's all we need to do by way of officers.
Yep.
And so having accomplished the reorg, let's go now to the approval of meeting minutes for the day of May 10, 2023, which is when we were last in session. And has everyone had an opportunity to review these minutes?
Yes.
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 And does anyone have any changes, amendments, or modifications they would like to make?
No.
No.
No,
Do I hear a motion
Make a motion to accept the minutes
as written?
as written.
Second.
second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So these minutes are adopted unanimously. Let's move now, as I promised, to get to the next item on our agenda, which is a request to extend a special permit which was granted previously by this board for a martial arts studio located at 52A West Street. And the petitioner, Mr. Bassett, is present tonight. Good evening. Nice to see you again. Mr. Bassett has caused a letter to be placed in the Zoning Board of Appeals file. I'll read it into the record. It says, I, Robert Bassett of 52A West Street, Carver, Mass., owner-operator of Carver Martial Arts, seeks to extend my special permit for Carver Martial Arts. I apologize for the late request. I assumed I would have received a letter and the pandemic took a toll on my business. Any questions, please call me. Thank you. I'm a little nervous about this one because I'm afraid if we say no, he's going to come over and give us all the karate chops. So I open this issue to the board and ask if any member or members would like to question Mr. Barrett concerning this request for an extension.
What I'd like to say is, I do follow you on Facebook, and I've noticed that you are up and running, and it seems like the business is back up, and that's good to see.
Well, I lost 38 pounds in the last year, so I've been running around.
Yeah, yeah,
Running around. Kids keep me going.
good.
I do have a good group of kids, so I'm very happy with that.
Any changes with regard to where the classes are located?
Oh, no, nothing's changed.
No complaints from neighbors or anyone else in
No,
town?
I have awesome neighbors.
That's great.
I have very, very good neighbors. So that is a blessing.
Good. Ms. Cullum, do you have any questions for Mr. Bassett and Mr. Barrington?
No?
Ms. Miller?
I'm good.
I am too. So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the request for the special permit by Mr.
Extension.
Bassett
For the extension, right?
for the extension.
And this extension would be for how long, please?
2 years, 3 years?
We gave you 3 years originally, didn't we?
And I was waiting for a letter to say come renew it, but if you give me a date and I'll have it done.
3 years.
3 years is what Ms. Mello's motion is.
Today's date?
3 years from today's date.
Yep.
Do I hear a second to Ms. Mello's motion?
Second?
This would be for an extension of this special permit for 3 years. Same purpose, same conditions. Everything's the same.
Everything is as.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
See, no karate chops were necessary.
No, I gotta go see what these guys are doing.
Okay, good luck to you.
Thank you for
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Nice
you.
to see you again.
Bye.
Next on our agenda for this evening is a discussion, a general discussion period, and under discussion, we always entertain any correspondence that's come into the record. And there is some correspondence, which I will read into the record. This is correspondence that's authored by our former member, former chair, former vice chair, former Girl Friday, Sharon Clark. And this letter reads as follows. It has come to my attention that a complaint challenging my residency in the town of Carver and the ability to serve on my elected and appointed boards has been filed with the town clerk. Ron, that's her husband, and I recently sold our multi-level family home on Bolton Street with a nearly 4-month period to locate another home in Carver that could meet our needs. As it became apparent that we may not find a home in town, I sought an opinion from Greg Corbo of KPL Law, which is town council, as to the options for someone in our position. His opinion is dated May 9, 2023, when all other avenues were exhausted. We obtained a 2-month rental in Plymouth through a family member and moved in on June 6th, 2 days prior to the closing on our home, because we had to move our possessions into storage. This expires on July 30. Just by way of an aside, the date that Ms. Clark and husband left town, as she says, based on the sale of her house, the closing, was on or about June 8th. So this was after our last meeting. So she was not in a position and sitting on this board at a time when she was already out of town. I just want to make that clear for whoever may be watching. Since the complaint against us was lodged and we were advised by the town clerk that we would be formally served to appear before the Board of Registration for a determination of our status, I have decided to resign from the boards that I currently serve. It has long been my position that these kinds of procedures are frivolous and a waste of taxpayers' money in legal fees, especially in view that I had sought an opinion and that we consider this upheaval temporary. It has always been our intention to find a smaller home in Carver where we have lived, raised our family, and participated in our government for 37 years. So I regretfully resign my position as a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, a position I've held since 1992, making me one of the longest continuous serving members of any board in Carver. During my tenure on the ZBA, becoming chairman in 1997, I have heard dozens and dozens of cases, overseen several bylaw reviews, and have never lost an appeal of a decision. Whether it be an illegal in-law apartment, gas tanks for Cumberland Farms in the center of town, or a liquor store near the elementary school. That speaks to the integrity of the ZBA, and I'm very proud of my role in each of those cases. The ZBA is in great hands with Chairman Gray and Vice Chairman Mello, but I do hope to sit beside them again soon. I also regretfully resigned from my recent re-election on the Redevelopment Authority, also as chairman. This represents hundreds of hours on the North Carver project during 2021 and 2022, with a board that works extraordinarily well together. It has also been my goal to always do what is best for the town that I call home. Putting an end to this distraction is one way to do that. I truly appreciate those that I work with, either in town hall or the citizens that I represented. Sincerely, Sharon Clark. This letter will become part of the official ZBA file and proceedings for this evening. Anybody have any questions or comments about that?
Just very sad to see her not active on either board with the knowledge that she has from all these years. It's invaluable. So she will greatly be missed.
Ms. Cullum is nodding in affirmance.
Yes.
Ms. Mello?
I think it goes back to her and her husband decided to do the best thing for the town by resigning instead of letting this get dragged on and possibly, you know, a lawsuit and lawyers involved. Ridiculous.
Okay. I have a few comments that I'd like to make. Before I do, I ask everybody to rise and move in close to me. So I have prepared some remarks this evening concerning Ms. Clark, and I hope that everybody who has the opportunity or hears about this has a chance to have listened to Ms. Clark's letter that I just read into the record, and hopefully will listen carefully to the comments that I'm now about to make. And we rise tonight, the town of Carver, to honor Sharon Clark, who resigned a few weeks ago after 31 years of public service to this board. Her seat has remained unoccupied, or at least one of the seats that she has occupied in the past has remained unoccupied this evening in recognition of her over 3-decade-long tenure. Ms. Clark has been an uncommonly dedicated and selfless citizen who has not only served as both chairperson and vice chairperson of the ZBA, but also as chairperson of the RDA and a member of the Library Committee. But specifically, it was this board to which Ms. Clark had a particular attachment. She is a longtime title examiner whose services have been sought by numerous attorneys and companies through the years. She is as knowledgeable about many land and land use issues as anyone I know, especially insofar as the town of Carver is concerned. As an attorney myself, I am not in the least embarrassed to say that the depth and breadth of her experience exceeds my own in this field, and I have leaned on her numerous times for her guidance and wisdom. Now, for those unaware, this board, the Zoning Board of Appeals, is charged generally with applying our bylaws after decisions have already been made by town officials concerning proposed building projects. This puts us, the ZBA, in the position where we must operate outside the orbit of competing political interests in town. We do not prejudge cases that we are asked to review, nor do we get involved in the initial decision-making process in this building. We seek always to ignore the noise, guarding our independence jealously, so that we can never be accused of not being impartial. As the case law in Massachusetts suggests that we must do, we handle cases as a quasi-judicial body, sitting as 5 judges, if you will, just without the robes. Ms. Clark, humble despite her vast knowledge, has trained, if you will, so many ZBA members over the years that she should certainly be awarded a ceremonial robe if there ever were such a thing. She has, with good grace and humor, suffered the slings and arrows of many disappointed petitioners over the years, while always being true to the mission of this board. Many controversial cases she has been a part of, including illegal in-law apartment matters, the application of a local pharmacy to be approved for liquor sales near an elementary school solar field requests in residential neighborhoods, and 40B projects for affordable housing. And while sitting in judgment on dozens and dozens of these cases through these many years, and here is the most amazing thing, ladies and gentlemen, this board has not been reversed by a court of law during her entire 31-year tenure. I want everyone to think for a minute, think hard about the amount of legal expense and usage of resources the town has saved because of Ms. Clark's tenure. This is not to say that Ms. Clark or the board have not made any mistakes over the last 31 years, but nothing ever rising to the level of reversible legal error. She has helped navigate some very rocky waters over the years and has always captained this ship of state to safe harbors as it interprets sometimes confusing local bylaws and complies with state statutes and sometimes even federal and constitutional law. This board, I dare say, Ms. Clark's board during her tenure, has professionalized zoning in this town and has kept its rural nature intact, an issue that concerns all of us. As I have described, it is a heavy portfolio we must carry to discharge our duties. The learning curve is considerable, as our most recent members have learned. We do not come onto a board like this and simply ask ourselves, what would be in the best interest of the town? Or this person, or that person? Doing so is asking for trouble and would be wrong legally. Our decision-making process is far, far more nuanced than that. I also wish to spend some time talking about how it is that the departure of Ms. Clark has come to pass. You got a flavor of this when I read her resignation letter into the record. She and her husband, a former, I believe, 5-term member of the Select Board himself, and a member of the Finance Committee, another highly qualified public servant, sold their home in Carver recently and moved into temporary housing in Plymouth. After inquiring properly of town council whether they might be allowed a short grace period to find a new home in Carver while continuing to serve, they were advised that this appeared to be acceptable, as there were no bylaws that prohibited this approach for appointed officials. After objections were raised by some and name-calling began to appear in social media, they tendered their resignations, not wanting to be a distraction to the work these bodies perform. This selfless action, so typical of Ms. Clark and her husband, has deprived the town of incalculable experience which cannot be replaced, most especially on this board. I would also like to say that Ms. Clark has not only gone quietly for the benefit of the town, but without hearing from as many people as you would expect that she would hear from to thank her for her many years of public service. This is disturbing, and I'd like to think that we're better than this. For years, the town has bemoaned the absence of qualified volunteers to fill out its boards and committees. Is there no appreciation anymore for a lifetime of public service, such as Ms. Clark and her husband? As John Kennedy once said, ask not what you can do for your country, but ask what you can do for your country. I should repeat that. Ask not what your country can do for you, but instead ask what you can do for your country. Let's all try to do better. And instead of tearing down local folks who choose to serve constructively, appreciate them for their selflessness and their want to do public good. Personally, I know in the future I shall be looking to the chair to my right, now occupied by the very capable of Ms. Mello, when a thorny issue arises in one of our cases. Ms. Clark won't be there, but I will not forget the sound of her voice, ever. Thank you for your attention to these remarks this evening. Does anyone from the board have anything else they would like to say? Hearing none, I ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody.